And we're back for round 2 of Wednesday Night Standard here at GameSwap in lovely Mason, Ohio. On the left, we have Brice Sheeler playing Blue-Red Control. On the right, Nick Hindman with Marvel Bushwacker. And I am intrigued. Was our information bad?
No, it's Mardu Vehicles is what I was told.
Or Mardu Vehicles.
Okay, so
I think maybe that got lost in translation.
that's fine. He might be playing Mardu Vehicles with Bushwacker in it.
Right.
Well, Bushwacker's what is that 2-1 guy?
Oh,
Reckless
yeah.
Bushwacker.
Mardu Bushwacker.
Yeah, Reckless
Right.
Bushwacker.
I think what happened was somebody asked Nick, "Hey, Nick, what are you playing? I need to put it on stream." And he said Mardu Bushwacker, and it came out, Marvel Bushwacker.
Well, regardless.
Yeah. Well, either way, we're gonna
find out what he's playing.
do some whacking. I wanted to say some other things, but it might have come across a little bit explicit. This is a family-friendly stream, so we're gonna whack.
Yeah. Whack on, whack off. So, if people want to still be playing Blue-Red Control now that Mardu's not a thing, or now that Marvel's not a thing, I think they're just going to get rolled by Mardu, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, vehicles, and that's why we wanted to put this matchup on stream, is that I think, other than the fact that Nick's list is a little bit lower to the ground than what we're used to seeing from Mardu Vehicles, I think this is a preview of what's going to be one of the most popular matchups going forward.
Yeah.
And Mardu definitely has the ability to tax Blue-Red's answers by presenting threats that have to be dealt with on various axes. So Nick with the turn 1 Inspector.
Turn 1 Thraben Inspector. Gosh, that card is it's so unassuming.
Indeed. I like that card a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's great that it ended up being constructed playable.
Which is definitely not necessarily the case, but I think it's just it looked like a reasonable card when it was printed and whatnot. But
Sure.
The fact that it's actually seeing play is pretty cool.
Well, it's a human, so it goes in human shells. It kind of is a leftover from the original build of Mardu that had Smuggler's Copter, but it turns out that the card is just so good that even after the banning of Copter, there's no reason to replace the Inspector.
Yeah, definitely. Just having that clue is really important for the unlicensed disintegration and whatnot.
Yep.
So Nick's having some mana issues. Found his third land there and the red source of mana.
And he does have a black source in hand with a Shambling Vent.
Okay.
Right. It's going to come into play tapped, so there's that.
So are we on turn... Okay, this is turn 4. Okay.
Brice tells Pia to get lost. Not happening around here. You and your Thopters.
Yeah, you and your additional body.
Right. Go elsewhere.
And I don't have the Sweltering Sun in hand, so...
Sweltering Sun's in hand. Only one red source. Of course, that glimmer at the front of his hand is probably going to...
I think it's a Magma Spray. I don't think it's a Sweltering Sun.
Okay. That glimmer in his hand is definitely going to help him find, a good amount of whatever he needs.
So he's flipping through a sensor and a harness lighting. He's going to bottom the sensor, keep the harness lightning.
I like that decision.
Let's draw your cards. There you go. A nice solid mechanic. Keep your card on the battlefield until you draw for it.
That's right. Correctly resolved the steps of Glimmer of Genius in order.
Cycling a sensor, still looking for that land. So currently he has 3 energy. It's not bad for having to use the Aether Hub for red. But if depending on how he chooses his target for this Harness Lightning, he could actually net himself some more energy off of it to be able to keep playing all of his red burn spells.
Yeah, but you know what? At this point, if I'm Brice, I'm fine with Nick's board.
Oh, yeah,
You know what I'm
definitely.
saying?
No, I think so. But I imagine that Nick isn't just going to continue playing just nothing.
Well, he's going to continue playing things right into the wall of counterspells that are almost assuredly in Brice's hand at this point. Discarding pull from tomorrow to hand size. Didn't make a land drop. We've got all the answers.
Pull from Tomorrow, also a big fan of that card. It's
Yes.
deceptively simple.
And Gideon, what do you think? Nick is asking, may I please have this, sir? Nope, you are not allowed.
Actually disallowed.
Exactly.
So you're spot on.
No, you may not.
And
Still short on the lands.
and this is why Heart of Kieran is allowed to be played and Smuggler's Copter is not.
Agreed.
Smuggler's Copter, instead of swinging for 1, would have been swinging for 3 each of these turns.
And finding Nick more action.
And just looting. Yeah, looting away all.
Mm-hmm.
Probably that Concealed Courtyard, any of these extra lands. Definitely this card that was getting cycled. This land's getting cycled now.
Yep. Would have done that for free instead of making him pay 2 mana for it.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So Wizards is working on getting the format into some kind of shape after printing some ridiculous cards, I think. And so super excited after this banning, what the format's going to be like.
And Nick's going to try to do some whacking.
He's not going to do any whacking, honestly. This isn't surged. So just going to get in for 3. Oh, we're going to accrue the heart. Ooh.
Brice is going to show him the Tesla coil that he's got hanging out in his workshop. Check this out, man.
So, yeah, I want to say that Brice has 4 Torrential Gearhulks in hand.
At least 4.
And he discarded that Pull from Tomorrow, which I don't think I love, given that fact. Pull from Tomorrow is a lot more versatile.
I mean, he wasn't... I don't think that he was expecting to have mana untapped at the end of any of his turns when he's got just a hand that's chock full of answers.
Yeah.
In the form of counter magic and or removal.
And so...
But now, no red mana.
No red mana, given what target his Harness Lightning hit.
FH Ponage, yes, I agree. The best casters are the best pun makers. So I'm trying to follow in their footsteps. I don't know about Kyle here.
Actually, factually wrong. Puns are awful.
Disagree. Completely and totally disagree. LSV, by far, the best caster in the business. Cedric Phillips and Sully, P. Sully.
I don't think they make that many puns.
Very good. They're very good.
They
But
don't make that many
LSV,
puns.
it just is quality from top to bottom. And his entire existence is a pun.
It's despite his pun, not because of his puns. All right. So Nick's getting in with a Shambling Vent and... Oh, are we trying to go for a crew again? Or no, we're swinging in for 3.
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, just don't even worry about that crew.
Just
Just
got in.
just push.
Yep.
And gain your life off of lifelink.
Yeah, deal with these things.
Yeah.
And then later on, I'm going to try to make you deal with that thing over there. Wow. All of the real estate hanging out on the bottom of Brice's deck.
Yeah, so I imagine this Glimmer is going to get... Just rip this Glimmer. And
The smartest thing to do here would be to draw 2 lands.
just bottom those 2.
Yeah.
Find the mountain.
Yeah. Good call, Brice. All right, well,
We found a mountain for a turn. We got a Tendo Ice Bridge.
it's a temporary mountain.
Oh, no, it's a lot less than temporary. My bad. Glimmer gave him 2 mana, or 2 energy, so
Sure.
he's good. He's good. Now that he's got the 6th land, he will be casting some red spells and then flashing them all back with Gearhulk. And Nick needs to start mounting an offensive.
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty late in the game for Brice to be at 10 life.
That being said, Gideon seems really good right here.
Especially when the control player doesn't have a negate
to
stop it.
No. So,
and once again, Mardu showing why it is favored in this matchup.
Yeah.
Because of this card right here. Gideon, ally of standard format.
Yeah, so both of these Magma Sprays are going to get wasted on the heart. And then let's see him make a knight. And now Nick is building a board.
Getting some traction. Of course, Brice, importantly, is on 6 here and does have quite a few torrential Gearhawks that can safely block an attacking Gideon.
Does a torrential Gearhulk every turn for the next 4 turns win the game?
I think there's a good possibility that it does, yes.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's flat... Yeah, so Brice is casting this Gearhulk, and with the trigger on the stack, Nick is just going to...
Well, it's not going to get that 3 damage, but still going to get in for 7, 8 here.
Yeah. I think
depending on what Brice chooses to flash back.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be a Magma Spray at this point.
Okay, so Brice is going to Glimmer. He's going to keep digging. So just a little bit of confusion on the timing here. It's nothing big in terms of discrepancies, but...
Well, okay, so the way that it works with this is that if Nick chose to respond to the trigger, that Glimmer should be exiled, by the way. The Glimmer that he just cast needs to be exiled from his graveyard.
And so, for Brice's trigger, Brice's ability of the Gearhulk...
Yeah, so you cast the Gearhulk, it comes into play, puts a trigger on the stack. Nick wanted to respond with the trigger still on the stack, right? And that was his intention. So basically the way that it should have played out was Gearhulk comes into play, Brice gets the trigger, goes on the stack, announces the target, then Nick responds with the Unlicensed Disintegration. The Unlicensed Disintegration resolves, the Torrential Gearhulk goes to the graveyard, and then the trigger resolves.
So Brice just didn't get to target with his Gearhulk.
Right. But not a super huge deal in the grand scheme of things, to be honest.
So, nope. So Brice is stifling the Gideon activation.
Yes, he is.
And Nick had the second Unlicensed Disintegration. And so...
Looks like I was wrong. All the Gearhawks, only 2 of them got cast. Brice is dead. His draw is not super great there, to be fair.
It was awkward. It was awkward.
Yep.
And so...
But, you know, when you're the one trying to play all the answers, you know, you open yourself up to that possibility, certainly.
Yeah, definitely, as a person who plays answers and cards. And so, by Marvel standard, welcome Gideon standard.
Right. So the thing about that, yes, and that is certainly the cynical way to look at things, for sure. And I know that I joke calling Gideon ally of standard format. But first and foremost, it's okay for there to be precisely one boogeyman in a format.
Yeah.
Because all of the other decks that exist in the format can base their decisions on the existence of that one boogeyman, right? The problem to date has been the fact that Marvel was the boogeyman, but there were other competitive decks as well, so you were spread very thin.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you loaded up your deck for the Marvel matchup, they could still just turn 4, Ulamog your face.
Yep.
Like, that was still a thing, regardless. They played
Yeah.
their own
No,
counter
no,
magic.
yeah.
You know, you could maneuver your way through your opponent's answers and that sort of thing. Gideon is much more easily contained than a card like Aetherworks Marvel and its combination with Ulamog.
Definitely.
The answers exist in the format. You have Never Return. Yep. Ruinous Path is still legal, right? And then the other answers that exist are called creatures.
So that's the thing. So I'm not super worried about Gideon in the standard because I think that there's going to be decks that go wide against Gideon. There's going to be decks that play 3-mana removal spells. There's still Cast Out, which is solid in terms
Agreed.
of being able to cycle it early on and then cast it later on.
Spell Queller.
Spell Queller.
Another powerful anti-Gideon card.
Yeah, definitely. And so I have no problems with Gideon. I think he's going to be great. He's going to be a great card, but he's not going to be oppressive.
Sure. I mean, we're still going to see plenty of games closed out with a turn 4 Gideon on the play by vehicles variants, be it Esper or Mardu. You know, they're going to go 1-drop, Heart, do something on 3, cast Gideon on 4, and just be miles ahead.
Yeah.
That's still going to happen.
Yeah.
But the thing is that losing to that on the other side of the table, you know, you still have some level of control of how you deal with the fact that that's a reality in the format, right? Marvel, with being so luck-based and whatnot, you know, it's just all around feel bads.
It's hard to interact with that. As Chad is saying right now, it's hard to interact with energy, but it's hard to interact with that activation of Marvel. There's no Pithing Needle, there's a Stifle, but it's not very good. And it's like, the thing about it is it's going to come back every single turn. And so that only gets you so far. Yeah,
FH Ponage, I agree with you. And we actually 2 weeks ago were discussing that very idea of the fact that energy is this resource in a game that is at its essence about resource management that the opposing player cannot interact with.
Yeah.
And I think both from a design standpoint and a flavor standpoint, not having cards that could drain your opponent's energy reserve was an oversight.
Yeah, and I think our answer was basically the black cards should have drained and gained for energy, and that would have been
sleeve Siphoner. I mean, the card is called Siphoner. I mean, come on, right? What else is he siphoning?
Have you ever decided to
siphoning? It's a she in the picture.
True.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to siphon gas?
No, I have not.
That is miserable.
Yeah, I think so. There's no way to do it without drinking a little bit of gasoline.
You take a bit of gasoline in the mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, never had to, fortunately.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So I'm pretty excited about New Standard, and I think if people, as they will, they're going to start complaining about Gideon. I think at some point you're just going to have to be like, what do you want? You have to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah,
Gideon's going to be fine. If you ban Gideon, Torrential Gearhulk's going to take its place as kind of a...
Right. I think at this point, any further discussion about banning more cards is just, it's pointless. It's a waste of time, waste of breath.
Yeah.
This format is going to be the best that Standard has been in quite some time, and we should be thankful that Wizards heard the feedback from the players, and despite not having the data to fully 100% support a banning from just a pure number standpoint, still chose to listen to what the players wanted, and definitely improved the health of the format. You know, I don't play very much Standard. I am one of those people that was driven away by how miserable the format has been for the past, year and a half?
Yeah, me and Taylor were talking about it, and it's like, since Rhino's left, it's just... And not even saying, like, Taylor didn't like playing Rhino, but, like, since that card left the Standard format, it's not been fun.
Right. So, yeah, I am definitely one of those players, and based on the experience that I had at the 2 PPTQs a couple weekends ago,
Yeah.
playing Marvel, and experiencing the games, as I've said, up until the point that Marvel became the thing that mattered. I think that there is just some absolutely fantastic Magic to be played in this format going forward, and we should be excited.
Definitely. And so Nick started off with a Toolcraft Exemplar with no artifacts, so he's been swinging in with a 1/1. And Brice is still setting up his draws with a turn 2 Anticipate.
Yep, indeed. Nick's draws, not looking stellar here, to be honest.
Yeah.
Compared to what a deck like this is very likely able to produce. But he's still the guy casting the threats. He's asking the questions.
And so, not sure what Brice has in his hand in terms of interaction. I see a Harness Lightning. So, a kind of concession to playing Bushwacker. It seems like Nick has a Inventor's Apprentice in his deck as another 1-drop that he can kind of use to trigger the Surge.
So, Dr. Zivgo, I see where you're coming from. I do. However, I think that a card like Sphinx's Revelation was way too much for Standard. It was way, way, way too much. I mean, you cast that card for any respectable amount of mana, and the game was over, except it took, about 10 more turns to convince your opponent that it was over. So while I agree with the sentiment, I think that there is a line that exists between a card like Pull From Tomorrow and a card like Sphinx's Revelation that from a design standpoint is likely very, very difficult to identify, and is why we don't see a card more powerful than Pull From Tomorrow.
Yeah, without saying, you don't necessarily need Sphinxes, but I also don't think you need Life Gain. Blue-black control decks have been pretty solid in recent Standards, and just... I don't know. Play better.
Well, I mean,
those are very hard decks to play. The blue-black control decks have traditionally been very skill-intensive.
And the thing
because they don't have that crutch of Life Gain.
Is that, going back to one of the most successful blue-black control decks that I can remember in recent times, blue-black control from Innistrad Standard.
Okay.
With Foliage Roundyard.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that whole thing. And notably, in that era, and previously to that era, the threats didn't hit as hard as the threats do now.
Yeah.
So you can find yourself in a position as a control player these days because the threats. I mean, you've got a 2-drop 4/4. Things like that. I mean, Winding Constrictor can be 3, possibly 4 power on turn 3.
Yeah.
Players are losing life in larger chunks on average than they used to.
Yeah.
And so these days, to play control without any form of life gain, I think can definitely be very dangerous. I mean, we saw that last game, right, where Brice had 4 copies of the best card in his deck in his hand, and Nick was getting in with a 1/2, and a Night Token, right, and was able to close out the game.
Yeah.
And in a blue-white list with, say, Blessed Alliance, it's very likely that Brice would have been able to turn the corner there.
Yeah.
But because he just wasn't able to come back from the life deficit, eventually, even the smallest threat is good enough.
So, I hear what you're saying, but I remember the blue-black list for Con Standard, where you had Abzan aggro with Fleece Mane Lions, Anafens of the Foremost, Siege Rhino, curving out, really. Just 3/3s, 4/4s, 4/5s. And they had that, the big blue snake guy with a 7/8.
It still wasn't good enough, man. It was not good enough. It didn't put up any respectable results.
I'm pretty sure it went to the top 8 of the Pro Tour.
Pretty sure Abzan won every Pro Tour during that period of time.
Yeah. Winning the Pro Tour is different than actually top 8ing, but I think that
pretty sure that Abzan was the most successful deck of any variety during that period of time, and pretty sure that the only people on the planet who could have top 8'd with blue-black control were at that Pro Tour.
The
Was
blue
that
blacklists were fine to play.
Wafo Tapa, I think.
No, it was Shota.
Right, exactly. Yeah, okay. Right.
Yeah, but I think the deck was fine whether or not it took Shota to top 8 with a Pro Tour. I think the blue-black deck was fine.
Shota's like top 5 best players of all time.
Serrani did well with a blue-black list a few weeks ago.
Who?
Serrani.
Serrani.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's you could play blue-black. You don't need the life gain is all I'm trying to say. Suck it up.
I just don't recall him winning any tournaments.
Oh, not saying that.
Yeah.
Not saying that he won it.
Well, do you go to a tournament to just play Magic cards, or is your intent to try to win the tournament?
I was just responding to chat. Is chat trying to win the tournament? Sure. Then I guess, yeah. If we're talking about what Wizards needs to design...
Look, these guys and girls and, guys, girls, or whatever, are sitting here on a Wednesday night watching Magic the Gathering on the internet. I have to assume that the people who are interested in consuming the content that we're creating right now
sure
are competitive and and like winning games of Magic the Gathering. Otherwise, it probably would be pursuing other interests at this point in time.
Well, yeah. If they're interested in winning, don't play Control. Get over it.
I mean, that's just the place that Magic exists in right now, though.
Yeah.
Love it or hate it, the threats are better than the answers, and it's going to be that way for a while until WotC decides otherwise.
Yeah, and there's been some talk of them trying to shift their design focus, and so it's reasonable. And I think that it's going to be fine to... I don't know.
So Nick trying to resolve an Archangel Avacyn here in the face of 2 elemental tokens coming out of Hot Mama. And Torrential Gearhawk has something to say about that. Get in for 6. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that Brice is firmly in control of this one.
Yeah, Brice turned the corner. Nick's draws did not come together. Okay, so we got...
Those elemental tokens shouldn't be there anymore, by the way. There we go.
What are we trying to draw here, Nick?
Yeah, I think... I don't know, so... I just... I think at this point we just go to game 3.
Yeah, we're gonna fire up this Fumarole. We got the. Do we even got the burn spell for the motorist? Just let him know you got it all, Brice.
And that is one thing for you folks out there in internet land. When you're playing against Control, do yourself a favor and recognize when you're beat, and just go to the next game.
Yeah. If the person is at all competent, just save yourself the time, save yourself the round clock. Just count it up. Yeah. You see what threats he has on the board.
Here we go. Presented lethal. Nick could no longer resist his fate.
So what do we think? So Chad is asking, what do we think of the new Afflict ability? Have you seen Afflict? Have you seen any of the new cards?
I've seen the 3 that were... quote-unquote accidentally spoiled by the French Magic site. I have not seen any beyond that. And to be quite honest, these days I find myself not pursuing spoiler information as much as I might have in the past, largely because I like to be surprised.
Okay, well then.
Yeah, so, I'll wait until the full list is out and peruse that.
Okay.
I'll hear about some cards here and there from other enthusiastic players, and that's certainly fine. I'm not trying to actively avoid spoilers, that kind of thing. New sets are some of the most exciting events in Magic.
Yeah, so basically, spoiler alert, Afflict lets you kind of get damage through despite being blocked. And so I think it's going to be reasonable.
But so chat's saying that the opponent gets to choose that, though.
I don't think so.
No? Well, let's see here.
Oh gosh, yeah. What is the?
This is probably a terrible idea. Okay, so we're not going to be able to see chat here momentarily. We're going to look up this afflictability and see what we can find. Oh, this poor laptop.
I think you're going to push that laptop's limits. All right, so
I think this laptop's limits were pushed 2 tabs ago, man.
So Nick leads off with a shambling vent, and Brice responds in kind with his own manland with a wandering fumarole. And Heart of Kieran on turn 2. So Nick is setting himself up to have a vehicles draw, in which he has a vehicle, an artifact in play, and hopefully creatures that will...
It's a good thing Google knew what I really wanted. You know? And that's why I love Google. I mean, Google is basically God at this point anyway, so we don't need to get into that.
So this red creature here, this 1/4 for 4 mana.
Afflict 4. Whenever this creature becomes blocked, defending player loses 4 life.
There's no choices to be had there.
Attacks and isn't blocked. You may cast... Wow. That's, Well, no, okay, so what they're saying is that this creature itself, in the way that it has the afflictability, or, you know, the ability when it attacks and isn't blocked, is still giving the opponent the choice of which they'd rather have happen.
Sure. I'm not trying to sneak in a tooth and nail with this creature or anything.
It's a 4 mana 1/4. You know, so whether or not it's going to... This card in particular is going to see any tournament play is definitely going to be up for debate.
Yeah, so...
It depends largely on from your hand without paying its mana cost. Yeah, I just don't see the kind of deck that could really abuse this being any more than casually playable.
So Chad was just pointing out the pummeler decks. The pump spells and electrostatic pummeler. If your opponent doesn't want to block it, you just pump it up. And if they block it, they take 4 life.
Okay, so if they don't block it, then you spend a card from your hand to make them probably take less life or less damage than they would have if they had blocked it. I'm not impressed.
Okay, I might just be wrong then. That's fine. I was trying to give the benefit of the doubt. I tried to give spoilers the benefit of the doubt. But alas.
Yeah, you know, I look at spoilers purely from a how is this going to fit into a constructed deck standpoint. That's it. That's the only way I look at Magic cards. Is this going to be a player in Standard? Is this going to be a player in Modern or Legacy? Something along those lines. Any other aspect of new Magic cards for me, personally, are irrelevant.
I understand what you're saying.
I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with looking at new Magic cards and being excited by, let's just say, this 2 mana double strike with Eternalize 5, which whatever Eternalize does, who knows?
So,
yeah, I've seen.
Okay, yeah.
I've seen that one.
And so Nick is struggling to put up much of an offense here. The Brutal Expulsion. Exiled. Yeah, that card's...
Get him. 4 mana. Countered your spell and killed your creature. Get him.
Get him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you were also pointing out that 3 mana Wrath effect, basically.
Yeah, 3 mana Black Wrath.
Sure. So what we need to look at in respect to that card is that let's say okay, you're Kyle Kepi and you're interested in playing some blue-black control in Standard. You're like, Jason Morgan is wrong. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Blue-black control is perfectly viable, and I'm going to play this 3 mana sweeper, and I'm going to show him how good it is. Right. So you find yourself in a situation where Your whole plan is I'm going to cast this 3-mana sweeper, and then I'm going to hold up this other mana, be it 2 or 3, for this counter spell in my hand, and I'll get you, right? And then your opponent says, hey, you know what? You're not going to untap any of those lands your next turn, so I'm going to run out my worst threat. Go ahead and counter it.
Yeah.
And then you're tapped out during your turn. You're going to have at most access to 1 mana, and I'm going to cast Get In your face.
Okay.
Yeah, the play patterns that card inspires, I don't think are conducive to winning games of Magic the Gathering.
Okay. Wow. Jason just hates all the new cards.
No. No, I don't. Just the ones I've seen. just not willing to let me say, hey, I'm going to wait till I play with this card to see how I feel about it. You know, man, I just... The fact that you don't get to untap any of your lands, and the kinds of decks that are most interested in playing those kinds of cards are also interested in playing counterspells. I just don't think that it creates a play pattern that is going to be conducive to actually winning the game.
It's no damnation.
Damn sure isn't.
So, Nick's board got swept up with a sweltering sun.
Dr. Zivgo, I've played a fair bit of Control in my life. I've been playing Magic since Revised. I played mono blue decks. Lots and lots and lots of them. Played lots of counter spells in my life. Lots of Rainbow Ifrits. Things like that. Yeah, I've played a fair amount of Control, my friend. The thing is that Control these days, compared to Control back then, is not good. And so I choose to be the one asking the questions.
Rather neutered.
Rather than playing the answers.
You know, I'm trying to... Somebody was asking me the last time I played Control, and I think it was literally Sphinx's Rev, but then before that was Psychotog. And so I'm just like...
Psychotog was one of my favorite decks of all time.
So basically, I just refuse to cast this cancels or disallows or whatever.
Fair.
That's just...
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, when you've had the experience of playing with cards like Force Spike and Counterspell, you know, and Upheaval, and floating 3 mana to follow up with a Psychotog right afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. That was some fun. And another little card you got to play in that deck, if I'm not mistaken. Fact
or fiction? Fact or fiction? Fact or fiction? Psychotog was a blast to play.
I could be wrong. I could be misremembering.
It was an invasion. Yeah, so you had Odyssey and Invasion blocked together. Yep.
All right. Yeah.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Because the beauty was...
well, the beauty was Undermine. That's the true beauty. You want to talk about a counterspell?
Was that the counterspell you lose 3 life?
Opponent loses 3
yeah.
2 black, or 2 blue and a black. Counter target spell, and its controller loses 3 life. Just taste it.
Just get them.
Yeah, I got the meat and the sauce. Yeah, that was if it would be detrimental to me as a player if they were to make Undermine modern legal at any time, because I would never play anything else. I would play Snapcaster Mages and Undermines until the day that I can no longer hold Magic cards in my bony arthritic fingers.
Oh man. Okay, so these man lands are going to bounce off each other.
Yep.
But Nick is going to gain 2 life. Messing up Brice's eventual Torrential Gearhulk math. It'll take an additional swing. All right. Brice just draws and passes.
Yeah, you want to make a Super Friends deck, man? Go for it. The format is wide open. Just go nuts. They're your Magic cards. You can play with them however you want. I think it's a great time to be a Standard player. I really do. Well, I should say June 19th and beyond is a great time to be a Standard player.
True. Don't get too hasty.
Right.
There's still tomorrow.
Yeah, Abzan Tokens looks like a ton of fun as well. I've got all these hidden stockpiles, and I got this guy that makes me gain life, and all of a sudden here I am at 86 bajillion, and I've got enough tokens in play to cover my play area, your play area, and the guy about 3 matches down from us.
So Brice tries to jam a thing in the ice, and Nick is going to be like, let's unlicense Disintegrate that, and I want that 3 damage as well.
Yep, not even applying for the license. We're just going to go ahead and Disintegrate it, and you're going to take 3. Doesn't have time to stand in line at the BMV to get that Disintegration license.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Well, yeah, vehicles and BMV. Yeah.
Do you need me to explain your jokes?
Dude, that was a trident of a pun. That was a 3-pronged pun. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Bragging about your puns now.
No, that one. That was an accomplishment. That's probably the best thing I'll do this month. So another thing in the ice, another scrap heap, or a
scrap heap, the first scrap heap scrounger of the match. We're going to crew this heart.
Yep.
And this heart is going to get some lightning harnessed in its general direction.
Yep.
So Chad is asking, will the format just become all about Mardu vehicles? I don't think so. I think that Mardu vehicles has a really troublesome matchup against zombies. And I'm not even necessarily sure that, depending on how you build your green-black deck, that Mardu's a bad matchup for green-black. And I know that it can kind of vary and shift.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think it's healthy, honestly.
Exactly. Yeah, Bacon, the thing about it is, right, is that, I mean, Mardu, if Mardu does once again dominate, it's certainly going to inform what sorts of answers will be, playable in the format for sure. And I think if Mardu does emerge, or some variant of vehicles emerges as the dominant deck, blue-red control is going to get run right out of the format.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. Get that. And if blue-red gets ran out of the format, then zombies just gets better.
Right, right. However, that said, blue-red in its current iteration sprung up because of Marvel. So if the deck, well, and that may be my opinion, and I may be wrong about that, but at least that's how I perceive it. I mean, generally speaking, the way that you beat combo decks is you just jam your deck full of counter spells and say, "Come at me."
Yeah.
Right. So. And I mean, in Standard, that's it's a different ballgame in Legacy when we're talking about, Storm and Cabal Therapy and all that. Yeah. Right. So, traditionally speaking, in terms of Standard and lower-powered combo decks, the way that you beat them is with counter spells and a whole mess of them. And so, in my opinion, and like I said, I could be wrong, Blue-Red Control was built with the existence of Marvel in mind. And so, it's not necessarily a bad thing if the deck that it was built to prey upon, or the deck that informed its creation in the first place gets run out of the format when Marvel is no longer part of it.
Definitely.
So we've seen blue-white control have some success on this very stream with Mark Anlicker.
Yeah.
Playing it, I think that the Cast Out is certainly an underplayed card in the format right now.
Yeah.
Torrential Gearhawk is still Torrential Gearhawk, so blue-red could just morph into blue-white, and I think we're all right.
Yeah, but I don't think blue-white. If the concern is Mardu vehicles, blue-white doesn't line up very well against it. With Cast Out being your only real answer against Heart. There's
the only
stuff like that.
Main deckable answer against Heart. I mean, Fragmentize is a card.
Okay, true.
Yeah, I'm sure there's other ones that I'm forgetting. But yeah, Fragmentize is the one that immediately comes to mind.
Yeah.
And then you can play your own darn Gideons if you want to.
Yeah. So I think we're going to see a Cycling a Sweltering Sun. And we ripped a Magma Spray. And so that end of turn Magma Spray on your Scrap Heap Scrounger is going to get a flipped thing in the ice. That's going to eat that Gideon, it looks like. Or don't even wait till end of turn. Get him now.
Oh, yeah, here we go. It's all happening. No, it's not.
No, it's not. Yeah, I don't.
I mean, Nick has no cards in hand. The threat of unlicensed disintegration is low.
Yeah. I think right there I want a magma spray on the Scrap Heap Scrounger.
Yeah. Yeah. Flip the thing.
Bounce all your dudes.
And attack Gideon down.
Yeah.
During my main phase here.
Okay, so in this way.
And we've got the Harness Lightning in hand to deal with that Shambling Vent if it decides to get feisty.
Oh, well, last turn I was wanting to bounce that Shambling Vent. And so Brice now is looking to bounce the Gideon.
And it's just going to come right back down because we don't have a counter spell in hand, right?
Yeah, and if he comes back down, he's also going to be making a creature.
Which blocks.
Which will block the thing in the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's fine. He hasn't missed the trigger yet on the thing in the ice. This will be the trigger that he misses. Or that he didn't. This will be the fourth trigger to flip the thing. And so Nick actually got punished anyways for that, so he's good.
Flip That Thing sounds like a song that would be popular at gentlemen's clubs. So anyway, back to the Magic.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say something else. Yep, that's fine. So flip that thing. And the thing in the ice is now flipped.
Scrap Heap. Yeah, actually, chat has a really good point here. The trigger from the thing in the ice should have resolved before the magma spray.
Okay. We can sort that out.
Yeah, that's a judge call, for sure.
That's a judge call.
They'd have to. Yeah, I mean they'd have to rewind the game at this point. And
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Nick chose to make an emblem. I think he's just kind of concerned about trying to fight off the thing in the ice against his Gideon, because who knows what kind of answers Brice might have. But for now, he's going to be having this 4/3 Scrap Heap Scrounger that's going to push through the Wandering Fumarole and also a 3/4 Shambling Vent.
Well, yeah, okay. So we're going to Harness Lightning. Just so happen to have this one extra energy laying around.
Yeah, that's fine.
Harness Lightning that cat.
Yeah. And so if we're going to try to block this Scrap Heap Scrounger, we're going to lose our Fumarole. Mm-hmm. Yeah, get it out of here. Do we know that?
That Fumarole's dead. That Scrap Heap Scrounger is a 4-power attacker.
So here comes the block. Oh, we're not even going to let him block. We're going to license Disintegrate. Okay. So in response to the Fumarole activation, Nick is going to try to unlicense Disintegrate the Awakened Horror, at which point Brice is going to realize that maybe this Harness Lightning is worth saving 3 damage, killing your Scrap Heap Scrounger, and saving my Fumarole from damage.
So Brice on neither of these past 2 Harness Lightnings has spent enough energy to actually kill the creature. He's both players have completely forgotten about the emblem. He spent 3 energy to kill the Shambling Vent, and he spent 2 energy to kill the Scrap Heap Scrounger.
So in terms of the board state, he should have 0 energy?
In terms of the board state, it's completely and totally illegal.
No, I mean just he should have 0 energy right now.
He should not have had the energy in his.
He had 1 for the Shambling Vent. And then
he would have had 0, and then cast. He should have
the Scrap Heap Scrounger was a 4/3.
Yes, he should have 0 energy in hand or in his pool right now. Yeah.
So he should have just 0 energy in his pool. Okay, then yeah. A little bit of rush play probably with just 2 minutes left.
At this point, I'm tilted. I'm not even playing, and I'm tilted.
So, because you all probably don't know Jason, Jason is easily tilted, and is the saltiest.
That is not true.
If Jason could remove his headphones right now, I would tell you how he's getting salty right now about me calling him salty.
Why would I not? I take that as an insult. I used to be pretty bad. I've gotten a lot better about it.
Okay.
But there are certainly players that you and I both know who are far worse than me.
Taylor Gunn being one of them.
I'm not going to name names.
Everybody knows Taylor Gunn from stream. It's fine. We can point fingers at Taylor.
No, I'm not going to name names because I honestly take that as an insult, and I'm not going to sit here and insult people.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm so rude. It's
well,
fine.
no, I'm just saying. I mean, I think that it could be considered a negative trait or characteristic.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
So I'm not gonna name names, but I will own the fact that yes, I can certainly get salty at times.
Yeah.
Most often when the luck of the draw is the determining factor in the outcome of a game. Sure. Sure. But I absolutely stand by my statement that there are players that are far worse than me.
Oh yeah. I can only make these jokes because I'm sure that I've gotten salty myself on stream and looked ridiculous.
Well, I mean, in the times that you and I have played, you've never gotten salty. You've
because you're good.
Well, you've taken your beatings with like a man. Let's just say.
Yeah, yeah. I know what I've been beat. Sorry, chat. Mommy and Daddy were fighting. With 56 seconds left.
Hey, no, chat's really active tonight. I think we're having a good time. I think everybody's having a good time.
So this Scrappy Scrounger just keeps coming back. And I didn't like Nick making the anthem with Gideon at first, but the fact that he's just pushing through the fumaroles, A+. And also is going to be just a two-turn clock on Brice when he does get to sneak through.
Yeah, for sure. Nick definitely seeing an angle there that we both missed.
Yeah.
The fact that his Scroungers are 4 power now is very, very relevant.
Yeah. I wish I knew what this blue card in his hand was. I've seen it once. It seemed like it countered. Maybe it's an Essence Scatter. I've seen it counter an Avacyn, but I don't know what beyond that.
Oh, I am most certainly the father. There's just no two ways about it.
Wow, Jason, you're really just setting me up for calling you daddy the rest of the stream. You got to be careful here. So Chandra Flamecaller comes down, and Brice is going to try to dig deeper in his deck.
Picks up 2 lands and calls it a game.
Hey, he just...
With not lethal on board?
Not...
Or was there another Scrap Heap Scrounger in the graveyard? There might have been.
There might have been a second Scrap Heap. I don't think there was. I think he had Magma Sprayed 2 already.
Yeah, one of which shouldn't have actually been Magma Sprayed.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, so...
Yeah. Okay, well, I mean...
Karma. There was a little bit of discrepancies there in how it got played out, but it all worked out.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's their Magic cards. They can play how they want. That's going to wrap it up for round 2. We will see you guys back.
We will be back very
shortly.
soon, very shortly.
Stick with us, and we'll see you soon.